Welcome to Murder and Everything Else. My name is Joy.
And my name is Cheryl. Joy and I are two very old friends who love to talk about murder and everything else. So, I did something really exciting today. Ask me what, Joy?
What?
I went to a North Carolina DMV.
Whoa.
They call it DMV, which is really nice because in Arizona it was the MVD, and that just really confused me. But anyway, it was quite an experience. I'm not going to call it an ordeal because I choose to look at it positively because I did get it done. But it's so interesting. This particular office, they've never seen it done like this before. First of all, the office opened at 7 and I got there at 6:10, and there was already a healthy line.
I told her it was like buying rock tickets to a rock concert back in the day where you had to show up outside, remember? At like 4 a.m. and camp out.
It just reminded me of Black Friday. Like, you have to camp out the night before. And someone I heard later on in the day actually almost did that. They were there at 3:30. That's just crazy town. Anyway, so there was already a healthy line, so I get in line, and I was next to this really funny lady. She was a little older than me, and unfortunately she had gone there the day before at noon. They close at 5. You think that would be plenty of time. Mm-hmm. However, she was turned away. So the deal is you got to get up at the crack of dawn and stand in line.
Butt crack of dawn.
The butt crack of dawn. And then you go in, and it's not over. You sign into a kiosk. You get a receipt with a barcode and a number on it. And then if you're the lucky first, 10 or something, you stay in the lobby, and you're going to be like serviced pretty soon. The rest of us, this was the speech we got. Do you live close? Because it's going to be at least 2 hours. So you can go home and we'll call you. Call being the operative word, right? Isn't call like when your phone goes ring, ring? So I come back to Joy's place and I doodle around and putter around, as she likes to tell me that I do. I putter.
She's a putterer.
And I happened to be doing something, and I looked down at my phone. The notification didn't even go off. I just happened to look down, and it said, "Please return to the lobby." Had I not looked down, I would have missed it because I was waiting for their call. So I hurry back there, and I get lost this time, even though I had no problem going there this morning at 6 o'clock. And then I finally make it, and I'm panicked that I've missed my turn, only to sit in the waiting room for another hour and a half before I was seen. And during that time, I just watched person after person come in. And not that late. This one old man came in at 10:30. You would think you close at 5, you come in at 10:30, plenty of time.
How old?
He was probably in his late 70s, early 80s. Oh. And he said he needed to take a written driver's test. And the lady was like, "You can try to come back."
She said, "Go fish, Grandpa."
Pretty much.
Aww.
Like, you got to try tomorrow, but she didn't tell him, you can't just come back tomorrow at the same time. You're going to have to show up at 3:30.
Right.
Stand in line.
That's right.
And we all, some of us were sitting on the stinky sidewalk. It was so stinky. I don't know what happened, but even the lady who came out to give instructions, she was like, "Ew, what's that smell?" Anyway, it was really sad watching them turn people away who came at a very reasonable time. I'm
no room in the
so
inn.
glad to announce that I got her done, only to come home and realize, after a brief conversation with you, that I didn't need to do it right now. Yeah, I got a notice that my license was expiring. My driver's license was expiring. My birthday, which is August of this year, that it was expiring. And so I was like, I got to get it replaced. And then realized I just got my Arizona license 4 years ago. Why is it expiring? So I
said
dig
it's
through.
because she's a terrible driver. They put her on a separate plan. They're like, sorry, you're on the 4-year plan. They saw an Asian lady headed in there, and they're like, stop in the name of love.
You guys, I go and I look at the form that says your license is expiring August 2025, only to discover, to my dismay, after this entire ordeal this morning, that it was my California license,
it's more
which
like an adventure, not an ordeal.
I don't need my California driver's license.
But I also told her this is kind of exciting. She could actually collect licenses from every state because now she's got like 4. So exciting. That's exciting. And
you know
also,
what? Some states make you give up your license.
Really?
They didn't. Yeah.
I think that's just when you get booked in the county jail. Give me your phone and your license.
I don't
Cheryl's
know.
had a lot of run-ins with the law.
No, my friend said she had to give hers up in South Carolina.
Well,
but
Cheryl
I've always
was busy.
kept mine.
While Cheryl
Anyway.
was busy fucking around at the DMV, I was sitting in a chair having my legs massaged by
you
my
poor
favorite
thing.
pedicure specialist by the name of Tony.
Tony Montana. Tony Montana.
Tony Montana.
From, what was that?
It was so
Casino.
nice. I was practically moaning.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm sure he's...
But only because I was feeling really sorry for you.
Oh, uh-huh. And then it was 11 o'clock, and one of the service people, she goes, Chris, what time am I going to lunch? And we all like sunk in our chairs like, oh, one of the 3 reps is going to lunch.
Yeah, don't leave.
Oh man,
Please
it was
don't
so
leave.
funny. No, actually, it was quite entertaining, and I really do have to say that everybody's so nice in North Carolina. I'm telling you, and it reminds me of Hawaii, not only because of the humidity and like the climate, but because everybody's so laid back. There's no urgency to anything.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of hustle bustle around
No,
here.
hustle
As a matter of
is
fact, one of the things, so last fall I went to New York City and the hustle bustle was so refreshing. Now, remember, I don't live in New York City and, but also like when we go back to San Francisco, it's always so nice to be like in the hustle and bustle of the city.
Yeah.
But then it's really nice to come back here and just like chill out.
Yeah.
Well, if any of our listeners out there have had really positive and wonderful experiences at their DMVs, let us know, because I have to tell you, I feel like the DMV is the job that, and I no shade, actually, you know what? Plenty of shade to DMV employees, but I feel like if you are not qualified on a customer service level to work at any other job, you can get a job at the DMV. You know, I feel like it's just like, are you good at customer service? No. Are you good at timeliness? No. Do you prioritize projects by level of importance? No.
Can you multitask?
No. And
No.
then if your answer is no
To all.
and also when you get to work, are you just dying to go to lunch as soon as you get there? I feel like that if the answer to all those is no, and then the yes to the lunch, then I feel like the DMV is the job for you. And believe me, there's a lane for every employee out there. But I just feel like every time I've gone to the DMV, with the exception of this one DMV that is in a town near where I live, and it starts with the letter S, and it rhymes with Myler. It's, I will say Myler City, but it's called Siler City. Anyway, they have 2 separate DMV offices, one for your plates for your vehicle, and the other one is for your license. And girl,
that's the other thing.
Let me just tell you, these people are so nice. They always put you in and get you through there, and I will drive as far as I need to go to get to Siler City's DMV. They're just so I don't know. They're just so nice. But you're right. They are super laid back.
Well, that's the other thing, you guys. Write in, let us know what the deal is in your state. But here, they have a separate office for the driver's license and the road test and the permits and stuff. And then a separate office for tag and registration, which means I now have to go to that office, which I hear is much more streamlined. But the employees were lovely. They were. It's just the system under which they work, which is just crap. Like I felt like I was back in the 90s.
Well, rolling into updates. I mean, as much as we'd like to talk about the DMV all day,
I could talk about it all day long.
I have an update, and that is I have a headache. So if you are looking for a podcast update, you won't get one. But I drank some emergency, and I never have a headache.
Oh, you guys,
never.
She's getting sick.
But I drank an emergency, and that hasn't helped. So after we're done here, I'm going to go take some ibuprofen. And,
what number is this?
What?
What number of being sick for this year is this?
You've been sick like 5. 5. I don't think I'm sick. I think it's this heat.
Oh.
I think, we went from it being like cool in the morning and nice to all of a sudden it just being like oppressively hot. And also when it cools down again, like when it goes from the humidity to like lower humidity, and I always have like an allergy reaction. So I wonder if it has something to do with that. I also heard someone else today say that they were getting their ass kicked by allergies. So
yeah, possibly.
Anyway, the other update I have is that we are back this week with murder. So for all of our murder fans, we are back. But anyway, Cheryl, what about you? You got any updates?
Speaking of murder, if you guys have been following the murder of John O'Keefe, you will know that the person on trial for his murder was Karen Reed. And she, after 2 trials, has been found not guilty of the crime. The first trial was a mistrial because it was a hung jury, and the prosecution was like, we are trying her again. So just briefly, if you don't know the story, John O'Keefe was found on a front lawn of a retired police officer's house, and his body was found in the snow. The night before, Karen had dropped him off there. She says he went in the house and she left because she was waiting for him to come out and tell her if she should come in. And he didn't come out after 10 minutes, so she got mad and she left. And then he didn't come home. So then she went to look for him and she found his body in the snow. He had abrasions and stuff on his arm that looked like it was from a dog with some kind of animal bite. He had bruised eyes, bloody nose, bloody mouth. Injuries that weren't consistent with a collision because, the prosecution said she hit him with her car and drove off. And they were not able to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. So the Karen Reed supporters are saying that it's a cover-up by the police officer because John O'Keefe was a police officer, and the people in the house were some retired police officers, some current, and one adversary of his. So there's talk that there was a fight, he got beaten up, and it was a cover-up. So anyway, she has been found not guilty, but I think she's still going to have to go through a civil trial.
It reminds me of that episode we did about the lady who was in like Jamaica or somewhere, Aruba or Cayman Islands.
Yeah.
I remember, and she got beat up and killed by Shanquilla something.
Shanquilla Robbins.
By the people she went on vacation with.
Yeah. So
Yikers.
The sad thing is the police really didn't take much evidence. They didn't go and investigate the house. So there's nowhere to go now. So no one's going to be held accountable for his death, which is very, very sad.
That's super sad. Well, thanks for that update, Cheryl. Rolling on to shout outs. I have a shout out today for Costco and their ready-made meals. I work 3 days a week most weeks, and my husband works 5. And on the days that I work, he's responsible for making dinner. And you know what? He doesn't like making dinner. And
join the club.
Yeah. So I buy things like pasta that's already made that you just throw in the oven, or salmon that has a marinade on it that you just bake, or even like something from the freezer that you just like throw in
A skillet or something.
yeah. And like pot stickers, like that's what we had last night. And I
And the
gotta
chicken.
tell ya,
It
and
was
some
good.
chicken, and it has been so helpful. It makes things so easy for me. I didn't say easy for him. I said easy for me.
Because you did come in, you like spiced it up. She did like
That's
the
right.
joy.
It makes
She put
it-
some joy magic on it.
Well, and it makes it easy for me too, because I know that one, if I come home, we won't starve, and two,
Aw.
you know,
Gabe,
if
Gabe
he-
listens to this.
exactly, if he comes in and he's had a stressful day and he's stressed by having to come up with something to make, that there's always something that he can just like warm up. So anywho, that's my shout out. It's for the lovely people at Costco, and also thank you so much for always being super friendly and super polite every time I go in there, because that's going to be one of the worst jobs. Like seriously, I used to go to this Costco where all the dudes that worked there were so hot. I'm not kidding you. I think I went out with a couple of them on a date once. But this was
At the same
many
time?
moons ago. That's right. And also I took a case of toilet paper with me. I asked, "Can you get me a discount?" No. This was back in my single days. But anyway, Cheryl, do you have any shout outs?
I have a shout out to navigation systems,
Ooh.
formerly known as GPS, right? I don't know. Now we call it navigation.
MapQuest.
Yes, I remember like going on MapQuest and printing it out so that I
Yeah.
would have it right there in the car. And now, I mean, it really is wonderful. You know, I come to a place where I've never been before, and it's getting me through all the trees.
All the
'Cause-
trees.
And you know what's so funny? You come to a fork in the road or a cross street or whatever, and the signs are like askew. So you're like looking for the street, and it's like twisted halfway around, so you
Yeah.
don't know. But the navigation systems. I mean, you remember when we didn't have them, and you actually. Ooh, I keep doing that. Sorry.
She keeps falling on the ground.
Anyway, that's my shout out.
That's why she had to go get her license again.
That's why it was only 4 years. Well, it was
Also, guys, just a little recommendation. If you ever get those gel nails put on, don't try to peel them off. It's very painful. Okay? So that's a little tip from me to you. Anywho, Cheryl, what do you have for us this week? Because
Oh,
I know
boy.
it's going to be a doozy.
Well, we are headed back to guess where? Florida.
Oh,
You know, I don't
God.
pick these stories because they're from Florida or Texas or whatever. They just happen to come from there.
Yeah, and also, I was just thinking about Florida today because, like, it's freaking hot out here.
Well, it's very humid.
And, yeah, it's humid, but imagine living in freaking Florida or Texas right now.
Yeah,
it's no
it's-
wonder that all the crazies are down there because
It
it's
makes you
so
go-
damn hot.
Yeah,
I
it'll-
think it goes to their brain. Maybe
Yeah.
that's why my head hurts, because right now I'm considering doing something highly illegal.
Well, I hope you do not go on a murderous rampage like the person we're going to talk about today, who is Dave Dilson. Wade Wilson,
Dilson.
also known as the Deadpool killer. If you guys didn't follow this, my sources are Wikipedia, Tallahassee.com, and eonline.com. Wade Stephen Wilson was born on May 20th, 1994, to teenage parents, with his father being 15 and his mother 14. He was then adopted by Steve and Candace Wilson and raised in Tallahassee, Florida, where he attended Chiles High School. Is
Can I
that how
just-
you
I
would
think
say
it's
it?
pronounced Childs.
I was gonna say
but
Childs,
I want to
but
ask
like
a quick question.
I was gonna joke around and say Childs.
Oh. Well, I don't really know, but I will say that, yeah, I'm guessing it's Childs, but I want to know something. When you said his father was 15, his mother was 14, and he was adopted, is there any information about, in your research, about how old he was when he was adopted?
No, I don't. I did not look that up.
Interesting.
We can look it up right now. because that's a good question. It sounds like it was from like
Infancy?
maybe, yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering because maybe he was, I don't know, like had some traumatic childhood stuff.
Based on the information, the exact age of Wade Wilson at the time of his adoption is not specified, but it's stated that he was adopted sometime after birth. That would make sense.
Wow. Just
Not
when you
before
think
birth.
Just when you think the internet has the answer to every question in the universe, you find out it doesn't. Dun dun dun.
I would think it's, you know, if they're teenagers, his 14, his mom was 14. It was probably like right after birth, you know? I mean, I would assume, but we don't know. So don't quote us on that. So we're back to Child's High School. I don't know. I see that word and you with your Spanish, and I just think Chiles, but it's probably Child's. During his youth, Wade was often described as troubled and was reportedly involved in minor criminal activities and substance abuse. He also sustained 4 concussions during his childhood and adolescence, which he later cited as contributing to his feelings of instability. What is that? What's the term when you get your head, the football players?
Oh, I don't know, but I'll
CEA
tell you.
or something.
I don't know. I've had concussions, and there's nothing no instability
that
here.
explains a lot. So Wade's encounters with the law began in 2012 in Leon County, where he was involved in various incidents, including burglary, assault, and firearm-related offenses. In November 2013, Wade was sentenced to prison for burglary and grand theft, serving until September 2014. In 2015, Wade was arrested on charges of sexual battery and kidnapping after a woman told investigators he raped her in his SUV after they met at a party in Tallahassee. According to court records, the woman said she and Wade went into his car to smoke pot before he abruptly turned violent. She said he ordered her to get in the back seat, choked her with both hands around her neck, and repeatedly threatened to shoot her if she didn't obey his commands. He called her a bitch throughout the assault and made videos of it using her own cell phone. The victim stated after being choked and threatened with a gun, she became extremely scared and feared for her life. The victim said she went into survival mode and began doing whatever Wade asked and tried her best not to make him mad. Wade, however, denied the charges, and a 6-person jury acquitted him at trial.
First of all, I was doing the math.
Yeah, I know.
You said his first encounter with the law began in 2012. So he was born in 94. So that means he was 18.
Yeah.
When he was involved in burglary, assault, and firearm-related offenses. Then he was, in 2013, he was sentenced to prison for burglary and grand theft. He was 19. So at 19, he served a year in prison. Mm-hmm. And then at 20, that was when he raped this woman. So he's definitely off to a rough start.
Yes, he is. In 2018, Wade Wilson emerged as a figure in the trial of a woman named Denise Williams. She was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy in the death of her husband, Mike Williams, and plotting with her lover, Brian Winchester, to make it look like a boating accident. Mike's disappearance in 2000 was one of Tallahassee's most vexing mysteries until investigators finally leveled charges against Brian Winchester and later Denise Williams. Brian Winchester, who testified against Denise Williams, this is the thing, when you're having an affair and then somebody is killed, whatever, they're going to turn on you. So there's no love lost.
Like a canary.
Yes. So the lover testified against Denise Williams, and he told the jurors he tried to get Wade Wilson, one of his jailmates, to fabricate evidence in the case. He said Wade went so far as to offer to kill Denise, who was eventually sentenced to life in prison. In January 2019, one of Wade's former girlfriends accused him of stealing her laptop and a gun. The following month, she told investigators he kidnapped and raped her, but Wade and his former girlfriend were under a no-contact court order, and investigators opted not to pursue the rape and kidnapping allegations. I'm not quite sure why, because they were under a no-contact order, they wouldn't pursue the rape and kidnapping allegations. I feel like you would pursue it even more if they had a no contact. I don't know. He pleaded guilty for pawning stolen property in the case involving his ex-girlfriend and was given credit for time served and probation. So this guy keeps getting off easy. That's how they ramp up and escalate to bigger and more horrifying crimes. The station also reported that another woman in Lee County accused him of rape and kidnapping, but later decided not to seek charges. So let's talk about the gruesome case that led to a death sentence for Deadpool killer Wade Wilson.
I didn't know he had a death sentence.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When you hear what he did. That was just his prelude to his major crimes. Not that, everything he did was not major. I mean, sexually abusing these women, attacking them, and, people get... We've talked about many stories where the perpetrator gets off too easily and then it escalates to people dying, so it's like...
Yeah. I would be interested to know what his juvenile record looked like.
Yeah.
Because I know that juvenile records can be expunged, but I don't know what the age of consent is in Florida, but like in North Carolina, it's 16. So like if you get caught committing a crime, you can be charged as an adult at 16. Like if you're pulled over with marijuana in the car, which is so ridiculous because meanwhile you can go, buy it in other states that are near here. So, but I will say that if you are a minor, a lot of times those records can be hidden. So,
well, I think for this guy, it's not like even if they were hidden, it's like he was just a walking time bomb. So here we go. This is what led to his death sentence. Christine Milton was originally from Illinois. She worked as a waitress and was helping to care for her mother, Katie Milton, who was starting to show the effects of Alzheimer's disease. Christine was her mother's best friend. Joy does not like that, you guys. She does not like when you say that some daughter is the mother's best friend. But we're going to...
Unless the mother, obviously can't leave the house and maybe she's housebound and she doesn't have any other friends.
Oh, she has conditions.
Yes.
All right. Well,
yes.
Christine was her mother's best friend. Christine was described as a fun-loving and super lighthearted person, as well as super kind and non-judgmental.
I think she would have been more fun if she'd been judgmental. Judgmental people are so fun.
Like Joy is very fun, guys.
Very judgmental. And I always like to blame my upbringing and religion on why I'm so judgmental. But I gotta say, it makes for some really funny jokes.
It sure does. Christine Melton met Wade Wilson on the night of October 6, 2019 at Buddha Live, a bar in Fort Myers. Christine was with her friend and coworker, Stephanie Sailors. Christine and Stephanie stayed until closing. Then they, along with Wade, went to the home of this guy named Jason Shepard. I watched him on the stand, and he was pissed off.
Was he?
He was just you could tell he was shooting daggers at Wade Wilson.
Really?
He was just so angry to be involved.
To my house?
He was a guy that he didn't even know. They just met at a bar. See, this is why.
Yeah, I kind of know how that feels. It's like when you're hanging out or you're with somebody and you think they're up and then you find out they're some kind of slimy criminal. And again, with judgmental, not all criminals are slimy, but literally it's don't bring your trash into my house. Don't bring your trash over here. If you're gonna have that kind of dumpster fire, keep it at your own dumpster.
Yeah, that's why I don't socialize, because these people didn't know each other except for Stephanie and Christine, who were friends.
Guys, the best way to avoid these things is to be a shut-in.
Stay in the house.
Stay home. Don't maintain eye contact.
Or maybe be judgmental and I'm sure he gave off very bad vibes. I feel like a guy like this could not possibly.
Well, I mean, first of all, he was a very good-looking guy.
Yeah, he was before
He
the tattoos.
is. Well, he was still good-looking with the tattoos, although the one where he
The
looked
mouth.
like he had like
and he lost his teeth in prison.
yeah, and then he looked like what do you call it? El Dia de los Muertos, you know?
Yeah,
and
did,
it was
he
like
did.
it was a little disconcerting. I was
little.
like, why would you do that?
Yeah, anyway. So yeah, this Jason Shepard guy, on the stand, he was shooting daggers with his whole being because he was like, I can't believe I got dragged into this. So anyway, they spent a few hours at Jason's place where Wade and Christine had sex, and then Stephanie, Christine, and Wade went to Christine's place in Cape Coral. You got to keep all the names and places straight. So now they're at Christine's place, okay? When Stephanie left Christine's house later that night, she said everything was fine. She said Christine hugged and kissed her and told her she would see her the next day. Police found Christine's body at her house on the night of October 7 after her car was found in Fort Myers, and they went to check on her. So Wade's now ex-girlfriend, Melissa Montanez, lots of names, so try to keep this straight. So his ex-girlfriend, Melissa Montanez, would later testify at his trial that she had been with him at Buddha Live that night, but didn't want to go back to Jason Shepard's house, and Wade drove off in her car without permission. He started calling her the next morning before 8 a.m., and then he went to her business in downtown Fort Myers. So Wade is going to his ex-girlfriend's business. When Wade went to Melissa's business, he was then driving Christine Melton's black Nissan Versa. So the Christine, who's now deceased in her apartment, he has her car. And he goes to Melissa's business, his ex-girlfriend. And his ex-girlfriend didn't recognize the car. Wade tried to pull Melissa into the car, and when she resisted, he punched, slapped, and choked her. Wade then dragged her upstairs to her business and held her against the wall by her throat.
What kind of business was it?
Oh my God. I think it was like a beauty salon or something. I forgot.
Do none of these people have cell phones?
Well, what do you mean? For what?
For like 911.
I'm sorry.
I can tell you right now that I can dial 911 with my cell phone behind me. You know why? Also, you can just tell your phone to dial 911, like, for real.
Well, so her employees, obviously people saw him throw her up against the wall. And so they did call.
Okay.
But now you have me on this because I am curious because... Okay, well, write in, guys, because I don't know, because Joy is throwing hardball questions at me, and I feel responsibility to know this, but I want to say she had some kind of beauty salon. Look, I'm going to be off. It's going to be like a real estate thing. Anyway, so, and you made me lose my place, so you're going to have to edit this, too.
She's like, my business was I was a police officer.
Okay.
Or I was an attorney. I was a cruise director for Carnival Cruise Lines. I owned a travel agency.
All right, let's get serious. So Wade, like I said, he dragged her upstairs and held her against the wall by her throat, but when he hit her again, he seemed startled by all the blood, and she took the opportunity to run. He then left in the Nissan Versa after that. That's Christine's car. That morning, Fort Myers police responded to 911 calls coming in around 8:50 a.m. to report a man and a woman fighting, with witnesses saying the guy was dragging a woman outside of a business. So people did call 911. Meanwhile, Diane Ruiz was walking on her way to her 10 a.m. bartending shift at the Moose Lodge in Cape Coral. Wade asked her for directions to a nearby school as a way to lure her into the car. When she tried to get out, he started beating her and then choked her. He then pushed Diane out of the car and ran her over with the car at least 10 times while she was still alive.
So it was almost like killing that first girl, like
spiraled
him out of control or something.
Yeah.
And he, like, he was probably planning to kill Melissa, and then he wasn't able to do that. So then he saw Diane, and he's like, I'm gonna kill her.
Yeah.
And he's just on a rampage now. He's like
It's like you let the genie out of the bottle type of thing.
Who let the dogs out?
Yeah. Coworkers called police when Diane failed to show up after never missing a shift in 5 years.
Whoa.
Diane's body was found 3 days later in a field behind a Sam's Club. Cape Coral police said they saw a single vulture circling an area that led them to Diane's body. That, to me, is so ominous when you see vultures circling. And then
You'll get used to it here. It's always, there's so many vultures. I feel like
I know, but
it's just like another day.
hopefully it never leads to a dead body, a
It
dead
usually
human body.
is like roadkill.
I know, but can you imagine, like...
But it would be fun if every time you saw vultures, you got out of your car and investigated.
Yeah, that would be real fun.
Cheryl's got like her plaid coat, her little hat, and her like magnifying glass. She's like
Looking like
Inspector Gadget.
Sherlock Holmes. I have a whole like kit in the back of my car.
That's right.
Diane's coworker said Diane was the heartbeat of the bar. She always had everybody's back. She just had that personality that was really magnifying. She has this really loud laugh that you could hear a mile away.
Really magnifying glass.
See? Diane was engaged to be married and a mother of 2 sons, ages 29 and 19. Wade was arrested on October 8, 2019, which is only a couple of days after this killing spree started, after sharing grisly details about his crimes in a phone call with his father, who helped relay the information to police. So good on you, father. Wade Wilson was dubbed the Deadpool killer because Wade Wilson is the Marvel character's regular guy name. Now, you know about Marvel? 'Cause
I don't, but my husband has seen the Deadpool movies, and he seems to enjoy the movies.
So there's like a regular guy, and then there's a...
Yeah, like Bruce Wayne is
Okay.
really Batman.
Right.
You know?
So it's Wade Wilson is the regular guy's name. Anyway, so he was dubbed the Deadpool killer. When officers first picked Wade up at an unoccupied residence he'd broken into,
Wow, he's really going all out.
the 25-year-old was charged with burglary, larceny, and damaged property, as well as with battery for attacking a woman on the morning of October 7
Wait,
in Fort Myers.
What's larceny?
Isn't larceny... Oh, I thought it was isn't it along the lines of theft? You're the...
Well, I
don't-
always,
you-
I
'cause
will
I'll
say
leave.
this. I looked up larceny because of the whole P. Diddy thing. So in my mind, whenever I see the word larceny, I also see baby oil.
Oh my God. Well, now we have to look it up.
Oh, do we? I'd
You asked.
like to think it's something exciting, like having, I don't know, like,
It's theft. It's the
Oh, is it?
unlawful taking and carrying away of someone else's property with the intent to permanently deprive the owner of it.
why not just
Stealing!
why not just call it theft?
Why not just call it stealing? Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, he was charged with burglary, stealing and damaged property, as well as with battery for attacking Melissa that morning. So days later, the Cape Coral Police Department confirmed that Wade was a person of interest in the deaths of Diane Ruiz, 43, Christine Melton, 35, both of whom were killed on the morning of October 7. Wade was charged with murdering Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz a month later. While police had his taped confession, Wade denied having anything to do with killing Christine and Diane. So I don't know. He confessed and then he denied it. The prosecution gave its opening argument on June 10, 2024, and each side rested its case the following day.
That's how cut and dried it was.
I guess. I mean, yeah.
Wow.
The next day, OJ's trial went on for 9 months.
Yeah, but
wow.
that was also a while ago. Maybe they just had so much, like, surveillance video and so much, like, evidence on this guy that they really didn't need to mess
I
around.
don't know. They have a lot of evidence on OJ too. Wade's dad testified that the same day the women were killed, his son had called him to ask for help, saying he was speaking from a house he had broken into. His father said his son told him he had met a girl at a bar, then went to her house, choked her after she fell asleep, left her body in the house, and took her car. His dad also said Wade told him he later choked a second woman who had gotten into a car with him after he asked her for directions and then ran her over. Wade's dad testified that his son sounded excited while recounting his crimes and did not express any remorse. And again, I have to give it up to his dad for coming forward, you know, and not
that has to be really hard because look at Brian Laundrie's parents.
I know. So I give him a lot of, he like spilled it, right? Because you got to think about the victims and their families, you know, which is, heartbreaking because Brian's parents knew Gabby. She lived with them. Like, it wasn't like some faceless girl, you know. Anyway, Assistant State Attorney Sarah Miller told the jury in her closing argument, after Wade killed Christine, he didn't stop there. He was looking for more prey. He was the lion and she was his prey. When he killed Diane, the defendant testified that he saw her in fear. He killed 2 innocent victims, one trying to go out and have a good time and the other trying to get to work. And that's what it really was. After the first murder, you know, I wonder if he intended on murdering Christine when he went to that club. Like, if he was looking for someone to murder.
Well, she was asleep.
I know.
You know what? He had a girlfriend. Then he went to a club and brought a girl home. So I'm just here to tell you that, like, I don't know about you and clubs, but...
no, me and clubs don't know each other.
Well, I went to a lot of clubs.
I know you did.
And I'll tell you that I don't know. I'm not going to go into personal details anyway. Go ahead.
That's a whole episode.
Carry on, Cheryl. Okay. Carry on.
In his closing argument, defense attorney Lee Hollander said he was not there to say that Wade didn't do it. He said, there's solid evidence he is responsible for the 2 deaths and the battery of Melissa Montanez. I'm not arguing insanity. I'm arguing he's whacked out of his mind for any of this. Can you imagine the defense attorney?
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's so funny. He asked for a finding of second-degree murder rather than first degree. I don't know on what basis, but
I think for first degree it has to be premeditated, planned, and all that orchestrated, blah, blah, blah. But second degree, I mean, it could have been one of those things where he just snapped and then he didn't plan it. But when she tried to get out of the car, then he but.
Well, so in all the things that I've watched and heard and read, premeditation can be a second before.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, you know, when he's driving on the road and he sees Diane walking, he had a lot of time to change his mind. So, anyway, on June 12th, the jury came back with guilty verdicts on all charges, including 2 counts of first-degree murder. After 2 hours of deliberation. So 1 day of trial and 2 hours of deliberations.
They weren't messing around.
They were not messing around. And it's good because the guy was... Bad news. On June 25th, the jury came back after about 90 minutes, voting 9-3 in favor of death as punishment for killing Christine Melton and 10-2 for Diane Ruiz, agreeing in both cases that the offense was heinous, atrocious, or cruel. In 2023, Florida joined Alabama as the only states where juries don't have to be unanimous to recommend death. The vote must be at least 8 in favor. That's interesting. Fact. What do you think? You think it should be unanimous for death?
I don't know. I really don't support the death penalty.
I don't. Why?
Because I don't believe that an eye for an eye is a system that works. I do believe, however, that if you do that thing like they do where like if you steal something you chop off someone's fingers, I believe
in that
works. So like if somebody rapes someone, you chop off his ding dong, guess what, he's probably not gonna rape again because now he doesn't have a ding dong.
And you don't call that eye for an eye or eye for a ding dong? I'm sorry, but I believe
for an eye.
I believe. Would you rather? No,
if you had to,
I'm sorry, but
would you rather lose an eye or a ding dong?
Right, exactly. I
I love that we're laughing about ding dongs.
Well, I do believe. I'm sorry. I do believe in Eye for an Eye.
Why are you apologizing?
I love vigilante movies.
Do you?
So at Wilson's August 27 sentencing hearing, his defense attorney read a letter from Wade's adoptive parents, Steve and Cindy Wilson, in which they apologized to the victims' families and maintained that their son's drug addiction made him delusional.
So I did want to just jump in and ask about a couple things. One was alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and then the third thing was I wanted to know the kinds of drugs and if that ever came out in any of the trial, because you know, there are a slew of mental illnesses that can be triggered by like extensive drug use, you know, like methamphetamine use and like bad acid trips and prolonged you know, use of, what do they call them, stimulants, have sometimes resulted in schizophrenia diagnosis. And then also like there's you know, other times there's like other drug use and other kinds of like sociopathic behaviors that are associated with prolonged alcoholism and other prolonged drug uses. So I'm wondering if any of that came out.
Well, according to the Goog, well, you know, when he was in prison, he and some other guys were trying to run a drug trafficking business from prison, and it says for amphetamine or methamphetamine. So that's.
Well, I don't know if you listened to any of his recorded conversations with people when he was in prison.
I listened to some, yeah.
But there were a bunch of people that, you know, this is unfortunately one of the things that happens with social media and with a lot of these things being televised, and that is there are people out there who romanticize and who kind of deify these kinds of like people.
Yeah.
And so they get a lot of fans. And the other thing is you can write to people in prison and establish relationships with them. And a lot of times the people in prison, what they'll do is it's part of their hustle. They'll get money from people who are out there to, you know, help them. And we're talking about people who are working really hard for the money they have, and then they're sending it to inmates because they romanticize the idea of this good-looking boy who, you know, was violent and rash, but he's so handsome and he's so charismatic. And I've heard recordings where he's flirting with both men and women and referring to
manipulative,
both men and women as being his lovers and his significant others, and how he can't wait to get out, and the things, you know, the very like, you know, graphic on like sexual details of what they're going to do when they get out. And it's so fascinating to me because one, these phone call conversations are all recorded. And number two, they're all, you can subpoena all of them.
Yeah.
And number three, obviously he didn't care who he was like accepting, you know, monetary donations from, random people.
No, it's, yeah, they got nothing better to do. Neurologist Dr. Mark Rubino testified during a Spencer hearing. A Spencer hearing is when a defendant facing death has the right to appeal directly to a judge. He testified during the Spencer hearing that images of Wade's brain, as well as his performance on various cognitive tests, indicated he may have brain damage that could make him prone to impulsive behavior without regard for consequences. But, hold on, medical examiner Dr. Thomas Coyne, called to rebut Rubino, said that scans he reviewed showed no signs of structural defects and that people don't need to have brain damage to do evil things. Judge Thompson subsequently sentenced Wilson to death for each murder. Because accused, just like you said, because accused and convicted murderers have their fans too, Wade had his share of supporters who started online petitions and fundraisers. Their donation campaign aimed to raise funds to help Wade Wilson afford a reputable, specialized, and competent legal defense team. They had raised more than $86,000, as well as took to TikTok to share how unfair they thought the legal process had been in Wade's case. The judge in the case case also got letters from people all over the world arguing why Wade deserved a life sentence rather than death. Prosecutors, meanwhile, slammed the rally of support for Wilson. Wade Wilson returned to court August 29 to plead no contest to drug trafficking charges. This is what I said earlier. And he was sentenced to 12 years in prison to run concurrently with his time on death row. I guess it doesn't do any good to add time consecutively to death. As part of the plea deal, charges of criminal mischief and attempting to escape from jail by tampering with a cell window in 2020 were dropped. So yeah, he and some other cellmates tried to break out of jail. Wade survived a drug overdose at Lee County Jail in 2023.
He's been a busy guy.
The incident prompted an investigation by the Lee County Sheriff's Office. Investigators uncovered a conspiracy to traffic illegal drugs into the jail. 4 others were also charged in the incident. I guess, if you're on death row, you got nothing else to do. I mean, why should he straighten up now, right? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not gonna fly right. He goes, why should I fly right?
I already have. I mean,
he's already on death row. I mean, and also he's probably gonna sit there for 25 to 30 years. True. So he's like, I might as well shake it up, Yeah. In the words of Taylor Swift, shake it up, shake it up,
shake it off.
Oh.
But yeah, it's not like he's gonna have his sentence reduced by good behavior. I'm not excusing what he did. Anyway, in jail while awaiting the trial for the murders, Wade had applied multiple tattoos on his face, including a swastika under his right eye and a Joker-esque smile inked around his mouth, as an example of his diseased mind. During the penalty phase of Wade's trial, Diane Ruiz's son, Zane Romero, who was 19 when his mom was killed, testified for the prosecution that he had just made the high school marching band and his mother was so excited to watch his debut. He went on to say he never got to see her in the crowd and that she would never see him get married. Christine Melton's cousin, Samantha Katimer, lamented during her testimony that Christine, who was the godmother of Katimer's child, would never experience motherhood, a role she was born to play. So let's keep in our thoughts Diane Ruiz's and Christine Melton's family while we are joking around about Wade. But in all honesty, yeah, what do you do? Like when you go out and you meet someone, you just have to hope that they aren't Wade Wilson.
Yeah, you have to hope that they're not some crazed, murder-hungry sociopath. I mean, let's face it. I think that sometimes you get lucky in life and sometimes you get unlucky.
Yeah.
Because, if... look at that Gabby Petito case. Like, they drove her... She stayed with his parents. They went on this van. They were going to release videos across the U.S. of their, van life. And they started fighting at some point, and they weren't getting along. And apparently his way of dealing with it was to strangle her and dump her off in some, forest or park or something. And then come home and pretend that she decided to hit the open road on her own.
And give him her van. Because he came back with her van. Anyway,
that's the thing. And I think we talked about this on the eye drop murder when we were talking about maybe getting endorsements from the Visine company. Which, by the way, I'm pretty sure we'll never get. About how, things have to be so desperate. I think at a certain point, it's like that switch is flipped and you just go crazy. Like all of a sudden, that barometer that tells you what's wrong and what's right, or what's acceptable and what's within your, it just, like Christine was sleeping and he strangled her.
Mm-hmm.
So she was sleeping, but he obviously already slept with her. But remember, he also had a girlfriend named Melissa who decided to not go home with him. Good thing, because he probably would have strangled her.
Well, he tried to the next morning.
Right.
But the thing is to go back with someone you don't know and sleep next to. I have always said that
Cheryl,
sleeping.
You never, ever.
Remember our episode, Have You Ever? And you asked if I ever had a one night stand. And what was my answer? No. Because, and I've always said that sleeping is next to someone is to me the most intimate.
Well, you don't have to sleep. You can get up and go home.
Okay, so everything before then was fine. But I just, for me, on a side note, I think sleeping next to someone is so intimate because you are in an unconscious state. You are really trusting them. To me, it's like the most.
So before this podcast, I used to have no trouble at all sleeping. But now, if we just have a house guest, I have to like lock our bedroom door and like bolt it and like, put bars in the windows because I'm afraid that the house guest's going to wake up in the middle of the night and come over and like stab me to death.
But lock up all your knives.
Exactly. I'm like, what do I do? Lucky for us, we have a big German Shepherd that sleeps right outside our bedroom door.
Who will bring his toy to you if you break it to
Who will probably be the person with the knife. He's like, I hear like a tapping and it's the dog.
Oh, God.
Anyway, I gotta tell you, I don't know what makes a person just like go off the rails like this. I know it happens. We read about it all the time. We hear about it all the time. We know people who have gone off the rails. So, but there are, whether it's like somebody beating someone up or somebody just going crazy, like you can't turn on social media without somebody on an airplane acting mental, or at Target, or at a restaurant, somebody just like going off the rails. So somebody walks into a grocery store and throwing the display all over the place.
You're right in the word lucky or unlucky, because sometimes it's just
it's the luck of the draw, like with the episode we did with the Uber girl. Right. She just got unlucky. That car pulled up when it pulled up because she thought it was the Uber driver, and it turns out it wasn't. No. It was just some dude on a killing spree. It's like sad day for her because obviously that was her last. But, if she had been lucky, it would have been her Uber driver.
Well, that's where I'm not blaming her at all, but remember it was Say My Name was the campaign that her family did after.
You're supposed to wait until they say your name before you get in the Uber, and you're supposed to also look at their license plate and match it to the license plate that pops up on the app.
Yeah, you guys, don't get lazy. Don't get,
But I get in Ubers all the time.
I know you do, without doing any of those things. And as far as like, Diane Ruiz when she was walking, and then you've had people stop and ask you for directions, right? When
nobody asked me for directions.
Because you don't know your way around.
No, everybody has Google Maps. Who's going to ask me for directions?
Well, I have been asked. Well, because sometimes you get lost in a little area. Let's face it. Now,
sometimes people stop and ask me about my erection, though.
Oh, God. Okay.
Just kidding. Oh,
your ding dong. You chose the I over the ding dong.
That's right.
So I have had people slow down. Sometimes navigation systems do get you a little lost. They'll get you to the area, and then they kind of then you're on your own. So I have had people go, I'm looking for, and I never get close to the car.
Really?
Yeah. I don't care what they look like.
Or spray you with pepper spray?
Yes. And you all should be afraid of that too.
Or perfume, really bad perfume.
Perfume is another. Oh, don't give people ideas.
Or spray you with, like that P. Diddy, baby oil. Laced with drugs.
No, seriously, do not get close to the car.
Listen, if you're considering getting tattoos all over your face, I'm totally serious right now. It's not a good idea. I would even say that it's almost a crime, okay? But you know what else is a crime?
What's that, Joy?
That we are out of time.
That is a crime. Well, thank you for listening, everyone, and don't complicate your day. All creativity, commentary, and opinions in this podcast belong to Cheryl and Joy. Music composed and mixed by Gabe McKeon. Logo and merch managed by Cheryl Yamaguchi. Podcast editing, advertising, and social media managed by Joy McKeon. Legal representation provided by John Bojezic. Please like, subscribe, follow, and listen. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible.com, Amazon Music, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. And remember, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok, or you can email us at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com.
Bye, fishes.